Greetings, my fellow Fright Fiends, and thanks for dropping by the Horror Zone. I hope everyone's doing well this evening. Coming at you today to talk about a couple things. Number one, I wanted to talk about this amazing varsity hoodie that I got from Fright Rags. This arrived today, and I missed the initial run of it. These things became available in late April, and they just shipped out last week. As soon as they went on sale, I got one. It's fucking amazing. I love it. I will be sporting it all of October, and just wanted to share it with everyone. Didn't want to do a traditional unboxing because I think those can get kind of boring, so I thought I would do, this kind of video today, where I'm actually going to be doing a countdown of sorts for the Halloween franchise. Now, of course, we have the amazing box set from Scream Factory that came out in 2014. I absolutely love this thing. I'm so glad I got it when it initially came out. And then, of course, we have the newest Halloween film, Halloween 2018, which came out 2 years ago. And hopefully, Halloween Kills will be coming out in October of this year. And I haven't really talked about the Halloween franchise that much since that countdown that I did back in late 2018. I thought it would be kind of fun to do a new countdown and see if any of my picks have changed. So starting at number 11, we're going to go with Halloween Resurrection. Now, this is stayed exactly where it was in 2018. It's still my least favorite in the franchise. Like I said back then, there's still things that I enjoy about this film. I think Brad Loree is a terrific Michael Myers. I also really like Sean Patrick Thomas in this. I think he's really a good character. I also think the Myers house looks really cool in this. It looks like it did in the original if it was all decrepit and, unlived in for X amount of decades. And there's some fun to be had with the kind of internet reality show style that they went with this one. I like the opening, even though I wasn't crazy about the way that Laurie Strode was dispatched and kind of forgotten. There's some silly moments. Again, Busta Rhymes doesn't bother me like he bothers some people. I still have fun watching it, but it is my least favorite in the franchise. And I do think that Rick Rosenthal really didn't bring any of the flair that he brought to Halloween 2. I don't know what it was about this film. It just seemed kind of flat and bland. It really didn't have the grit that Halloween 2 had, so I don't know if that was an influence from Carpenter or they just wanted to go a different route with the way that this film looked. So, again, not a horrible film, and I like everybody that's involved. It's just not my favorite. Number 10 for me is going to be the same as it was in 2018, and that is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Now, things I love about this film, of course, Donald Pleasence, late great Donald Pleasence, Danielle Harris, Ellie Cornell, Don Shanks as Michael Myers, who I think does a great job. Bo Starr as Ben Meeker. There's some terrific parts in this film. I love the opening. I like the whole the fact that that Jamie is kind of mute after the trauma that she went through, and there's kind of this connection between her and Michael. I thought was an interesting angle. Problems I have with the film, of course, Wendy Kaplan as Tina, just not an interesting character at all, and the fact that Ellie Cornell's Rachel character, who I absolutely loved in Halloween 4, her being dispatched so early in this film really just puts it on a sour note. But I do love the mysticism in this one, especially with the Man in Black. I was really interested to see where they were going to go with that. I don't think they really had an idea of where that story was going to go with Part 6. It just was a kind of a clunky film. There's some humor that doesn't really work. Some characters that are really kind of not interesting and kind of boring. I just didn't like a lot of the people that were in this that we were supposed to be rooting for. With a couple exceptions, this one has just never been my favorite, but still enjoy watching it from time to time. Number 9 for me, and this one has actually fallen 2 spots. From number 7, and that's Halloween H20. And there's a few reasons why this film has kind of fallen for me. I just don't really enjoy watching it as much as I used to. I really think there's some interesting moments to it. I like the beginning of it, reintroducing us to the Marion Chambers character, her being Dr. Loomis's nurse, and Michael Myers tracking her down, finding out that Laurie Strode's still alive. That whole opening, and Jamie Lee Curtis is absolutely fantastic in this. I also love Josh Hartnett. The cameo by Janet Leigh is really sweet, and I really like LL Cool J in this film as well. My problem with this film is that Some of it just doesn't make sense. I hated the fact that they discontinued Halloween's 4, 5, and 6. I hate the fact that it doesn't connect to the other films. And it comes off a lot more like a Scream film, and I know that Scream and Scream 2 had already come out. They were huge properties at that point. Also, I am not a fan of the actor that played Michael Myers in this film. He just doesn't work for me. I don't know why. He just doesn't scare me. He's not menacing. That's always held the film back for me. Over time, as much as I've watched this film, it just drags for me in spots, and it's not really that scary. I think the opening is great. I think the ending is great. It worked for me as a young kid watching it for the first time, but for some reason, as I've gotten older, I've grown less and less attached to this. Going up 1 point from number 9 to number 8 is Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now, a lot of people hate this film, and I understand why. It's very different. It's very different from what had come before. It's got a lot more coarse dialogue. It's got a lot more sex in it. It's got a lot more violence. It's very over the top in moments, and you have a lot of interesting people in this film, and a lot of them that it's hard to root for. But at the core of it, I really liked the fact that Rob Zombie showed an origin story of Michael Myers. There's a lot of great people in this film that I really think do a good job with the material. I love Malcolm McDowell. I've always been a fan of him. And yes, his Loomis isn't Donald Pleasence's Loomis, but I'm glad that it wasn't played exactly the same. I'm glad that this Loomis is different. I'm glad that Malcolm McDowell had never seen the original Halloween, so he brought his own interpretation to the material. I also love Scout Taylor Compton as Laurie. I think she gets a lot of shit unfairly, but she's really good in this film, as is Danielle Harris. I loved her in this. I love Brad Dourif, one of my favorite actors, as Sheriff Brackett. I also think Tyler Mane, who I had the honor of meeting, is an awesome Michael Myers. He does an amazing job in this. Very intimidating, very menacing. Something that Chris Durand, who played him in H20, just didn't have. And I don't know if it's just his size, but there's just this menace to him that he does so well. And I think there's a lot to be loved about this film. Yes, it's different. Yes, it's not for all audiences, but I really enjoy watching it. I think Rob Zombie should get more praise for it than he does. Okay, falling backwards two positions from number 5 to number 7 is The Curse of Michael Myers. I'm not a big fan of the theatrical cut of this film at all. I think it's very choppy. I hate the music that's in it. But I do like the producer's cut. Of course, it's not exactly what Daniel Farrens was looking to do when he wrote it. But I love that somebody that was a fan of the Halloween franchise had come up with a thread that kind of connected everything together. Things that were introduced in the original film that were kind of throwaways, or things that were introduced in Halloween 5 that the filmmakers had no idea how they were going to resolve in the next film. So I think he should be giving a lot of credit, and it's unfortunate that we weren't able to see what his cut would be. I also love in the producer's cut there's more of Dr. Loomis. Even though it's not the ending for the character I would have liked, it's much better than the theatrical ending. And it does make me always question where would they have gone in Halloween 7 had Donald Pleasence lived. It would have been interesting to see where they went with that had they continued from this story. I also think it's great to see George Wilbur come back as Michael Myers. He's fantastic. I had the honor of meeting him several years ago. Just an excellent portrayal of The Shape, one of my favorites. And there's some, got Paul Rudd in this, one of his first movie, and he's amazing as Tommy Doyle. There's a couple of scenes where he's a little twitchy, but I still love him and have grown, and I still love the actor, and I have for such a long time. I also like Marianne Hagen. She does a great job in this. Another thing about this film that I'm just not a fan of is the way they dispatched the Jamie Lloyd character. The character that was played so excellently by Danielle Harris in Halloween 4 and 5, and the fact that they screwed her out of coming back to reprise the role. But I really hate the way that character is killed in both cuts. In the theatrical cut, it's complete disrespect. This little girl that we have grown to love, and then she's brought back having been raped by her uncle, and she's ripped apart by this farm equipment. And then in the producer's cut, they changed it to where she's shot in the head by the Man in Black. I really just hated both versions of that death. For a character that we had loved so much, she just went out like a complete victim, whereas she was strong and a fighter, and I really hated that that's what that character's legacy was. Really distasteful, and it still sits poorly with me when I watch it. Yeah, I still like it. I think it's atmospherically great. I think Joe Chappelle does a great job directing it. Yeah, just some of the things just don't sit with me well, but I still enjoy watching the film. And again, the producer's cut is the best cut of the film. So number 6 for me, this is the same as it was in 2018, and that is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I think this film is very underrated. I love everything about this film. I love the opening, even though it's a dream sequence. I think it's amazing. I love Brad Dourif in this and Daniel Harris. They're both amazing in this. I'm not as big of a fan of the direction they went with Malcolm McDowell's Loomis, but I understand just based on some of the traits that they established in Rob Zombie's first Halloween film. Scout Taylor Compton doesn't get enough credit for playing somebody that's gone through a traumatic experience. She's lost her parents, she's lost some of her friends, she was almost killed, and everything that she does with her performance is amazing, and it just shows realistically what someone that had gone through such a traumatic event would be like. Really, Tyler Mane is amazing in this film, and I think his portrayal of Michael Myers in this is even more terrifying. I like that this is an original Halloween story. I like the director's cut of it better because it's set 2 years after the events, which I think works better than it being 1 year after. But yeah, it's a terrific film. Both cuts of the film work for me. I like both both endings work. I just think it's a severely underrated film that people just went in hating because it was different, but it's still what people have always said. They wanted something different, and Rob Zombie sure gave it to him, and he should get more praise for it than he does. Now in 2018 I had this film at number 3, but I'm moving it down to number 5, and that is going to be the brand new Halloween 2018. Now again, when I saw it for the first time, I had only seen it once when I did my last ranking. It blew me away because, again, it was bringing back the elements of the Halloween franchise that I love. It had Nick Castle in it, reprising his role and handing the torch off to James Jude Courtney as Michael Myers. And it also brought Jamie Lee Curtis back. Again, you know, we had already seen this done in Halloween H20. Some people feel like that is more successful than this, but I actually like this performance better because, again, it shows the trauma that she's gone through since the events of 1978 on Halloween. I also love Andi Matichak, who plays Laurie Strode's granddaughter. She's absolutely fantastic in this film. Talking about James Jude Courtney earlier, I think he's a terrific Michael Myers. He is very intimidating, very scary. I feel like he really pays tribute to not only Nick Castle but also George Wilbur and my favorite Dick Warlock. There's a couple of movements that he does that really bring me back to Dick Warlock from Halloween 2. Where this film kind of fails for me a little bit, and not to a horrible degree, but I really just don't like the fact that they ignored Halloween 2. I understand that they're trying to just, tie this into the first film, but Halloween 2 is essential for me. I love Halloween 2 just as much as I love the original, and I really am just disappointed that that's the way they chose to excise that film completely. I also am not a big fan of Judy Greer as Laurie's daughter. The actress is terrific in other films that I've seen her in. She grates on me so badly when I watch this film. And I really think it's a slap in the face that they didn't go with Daniel Harris. Daniel Harris, I think, would have been terrific. Having both Jamie Lloyd and Laurie Strode as mother and daughter would have been a love letter to fans. And I think it's a complete disservice to Daniel Harris and her contributions to this franchise, which I think are just as important as what Jamie Lee Curtis has done. So those are the little things that kind of stick with me. Everything else in this film I really like. I think the ending is amazing, and I'm really anxious to see where they are going to go with Halloween Kills. I'm very curious to see where they're going to go in the next installment, but this one's just come down a little bit for me since seeing it for the first time 2 years ago. Next for me, number 4 is going to be Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. And this was number 4 2 years ago. It's still one of my favorite films. I actually got George Wilbur to sign this one. This film is it's got everything, and I think it's a terrific sequel. Atmosphere, mood. A lot of people hate the mask. I like the mask in this film. Don't ask me why, but I've never had a problem with it. I love Ellie Cornell. She's amazing as Rachel. Just terrific. Again, next to Jamie Lee Curtis, she's just my favorite final girl, if you want to call her that, but Scream Queen, if you want to call her that. But I love the relationship between her and Jamie. It's so... there's such a fluidity to it. They really seem like adoptive sisters. Their rapport together is fantastic. Seeing Donald Pleasance come back as Loomis, I remember as a kid seeing Halloween 2 for the first time and thinking Dr. Loomis had died, so seeing that he was still alive really was a big thing for me. I think Dwight Little did a terrific job directing this, and I love everything about this film. I think it's atmospheric, it's moody, it's scary. It has one of the best endings in the entire franchise. Absolutely terrifying film, and still one of my favorites of all time. Moving up 5 places to number 3 is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Now, if you had told me 10 years ago that this would be in my top 5, my top 3 of this franchise, I would have said you were insane. I hated this movie for a long time for the stupidest fucking reasons. And that was because what most people don't like the film for is because Michael Myers wasn't in it and it was the 3rd film in a franchise. But I watched this film probably more than some of the other films I've just talked about. I love this film. I love Tom Atkins so much. I love Stacey Nelkin. Their relationship together. Dan O'Hurley is fantastic as Connell Cochran. I love the setting for the Silver Shamrock factory. The fact that my wife and I went to Lolita, California, where they shot all of the exteriors for that, as well as some of the storefronts. I didn't get to see the motel, but everything was shot in Lolita. Seeing that building and revisiting this film, I have grown to absolutely adore it. It's one of my favorite horror films now. It's got terrific suspense and atmosphere. I love the whole idea of this maniac creating these masks that are going to kill all the kids on Halloween. Just absolutely a fantastic film, and I kick myself for not giving this film more attention when I was younger. But it's absolutely one of my favorite films of all time, and yeah, it's just getting more and more popular with me every year. It might even become my number 1 someday, who knows. Yeah, but Halloween 3 is amazing. Absolutely love this film. Number 2 for me is the same as it was in 2018, and that is Halloween 2. I mean, nothing can beat this sequel. I know a lot of people were swapping this one out for the new 2018 film, but the issues I have with it could never unseat this one. Things might change when Halloween Kills comes out. We'll see what happens, but Halloween 2 for me is just, it's the continuation of the first story, and I love that it all takes place in one night. I love the hospital setting. I think it's terrifying. I love the characters, and I love that Dr. Loomis is still looking for Michael after shooting him 6 times. His interplay with the sheriffs and the other cops and trying to track down where Michael is. And then the final showdown is still one of my favorite endings of the franchise. It's just so creepy, and I just love that. I just love that ending. It's just, and Dick Warlock as Michael Myers is still my absolute favorite person to play the role. Absolutely love this film. Never gets old. Halloween 2 will always be one of my favorites. And number 1, to no one's surprise, is the original John Carpenter classic, Halloween. Still one of the scariest movies ever made. Still one of the most impactful films ever made. I love everybody in this, from Jamie Lee Curtis to PJ Soles to Nancy Loomis. Charles Cyphers, of course, my favorite character in the entire franchise, the amazing Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. I love that character so much. Donald Pleasance is amazing. And also Nick Castle, who I know there was several other actors like Tony Moran and even Tommy Lee Wallace who played Michael Myers, but everybody knows that Nick Castle was the main actor to play the character and really established him very, very well. Very creepy, this silent killer that you don't know what his motivation is, and I think that's what still holds up so well, is that you don't know why he's doing what he's doing, but he's insane and he's just picking his targets, and he happens to fixate on Laurie and her friends, and it's still absolutely terrifying. One of the best horror films ever made. John Carpenter's Halloween will always be the best. So that is it, fellow fiends. Just taking a trip down Halloween memory lane, and also sharing with you guys my newest ranking of the Halloween franchise that I have loved dearly most of my life. Let me know what you guys think about my ranking down in the comment section below. Also, I will include a link to my video from 2018. You guys can check that out as well. And thanks so much for dropping by the Horror Zone. I hope everyone's doing well, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy. Stay scared as always. Taking this time to drop by the Horror Zone. It really means a lot to me that people are supporting what I do here. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button down below. I upload videos at least once or twice a week. It would really mean a lot if people would spread the word about this channel. This is a passion of mine. I love the horror genre, and I'm really happy to share my love of it with all of you. So thanks so much again for checking it out. I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy.